did Kouri say during that conversation about her marriage with Eric?
She talked about how she was feeling trapped. She was feeling like there wasn't an easy way forward out of the marriage. She felt like she was worried about her kids. She was worried that she was going to lose them and that Eric was going to take the kids from her and that his family was going to turn the community against her. And she said that in many ways it would be better if he were dead.
What was the tone of Kouri's voice during that conversation?
It was serious. She definitely had a very serious tone. We weren't really joking. It was a very honest conversation and a very heartfelt conversation.
A couple of weeks after Eric died, you gave an interview about this conversation you and Kouri had.
Yes.
You gave it to a private investigator that worked for the family of Eric Richards, right?
I actually don't remember if it was at that time, but I do remember meeting with him, yes.
April 6th of 2022 at your house. Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
All right. And this gentleman who was not law enforcement, he's a private investigator, right?
Yes.
And he came to your house and you told him about this day that you spent with Kouri, didn't you?
I don't remember, but I assume so.
And isn't it fair in that first interview, you never mentioned anything about saying it would be better off if Eric was dead, did you?
I don't recall.
You don't recall?
I don't recall.
And then you had a second interview almost 2 years later in March of 2024 with the same investigator. Is that
sounds right?
And then the investigator said, wait, I understand you've talked to Katie and there was something you forgot to tell me the first time we met about a statement Kouri made.
That's true.
And what you forgot to tell him was this part about it would be better off dead, right?
Yes.
Okay. And isn't it fair that in this second interview in 2024, almost 2 years after, you even in that interview told him that you couldn't get on the stand for sure and say that she said that, didn't you?
I do not recall that.
Okay, Katie, can you please play
Katie, cue the tape.
BC?
And this part, I swear she said it, but I also feel like if you put me on a stand, I would not be confident enough to actually truly know if she said it, but I swear she said, in many ways, it would be better if he just died.
That's true.
Because, and I remember thinking, the reason
Is that your voice?
That is my voice.
Right. And you did say that you wouldn't be able to swear to it on the stand, didn't you?
I wouldn't be confident in that. Yes.
Okay. And then if we could play the second clip.
Yeah, well, like I said, that's the conversation we had. And I for sure know she said the trap stuck, and I am 90% sure she said the comment about it being better dead.
Okay, so again, that is the second interview that you had with the investigator. And again, you're saying you can't say for certain that.
Becky with the good hair is a prime example of how us women need to stop talking about our marriages with other so-called friends. This is day 10, and this is part 1 of day 10. Kouri is currently facing life in prison because she is being charged with taking the life of her husband, Eric, back in 2022. And Becky, who you just met or heard, she was working at Eric's business. In fact, she was working at Eric's business because Kouri let her know that they were hiring. She had just gotten divorced and she was a single mom, I believe. Kouri wanted to help her out. So she spoke to her husband and helped her get in the company. However, 2 years after she supposedly had that conversation with Kouri, she spoke to Katie. If you don't know anything about Eric's sister, prior to his death, was the one who communicated with the divorce attorney in addition to her husband. So her husband, Eric's brother-in-law, and Katie, Eric's sister, were the ones that were communicating with the divorce attorney, preparing and giving her all of this information instead of Eric communicating directly with the attorney. Now, supposedly it was because she used to snoop in Eric's email. He didn't want her to know. Then also, every time he would get hurt, anytime they had any issues, he would pick up the phone and call Katie. And Katie was managing the trust. Out of that trust, $100,000 was paid from the trust that is supposed to go to the children. That was used to pay this private investigator who is essentially the one that built this entire case against Kouri. Now, I'm not saying Kouri is innocent because honestly, we are on day 10 and I'm still fuzzy on the details. I'm still fuzzy. I'm still not trusting that she did this without reasonable doubt. And Becky over here testifying that she was her friend and that she confided multiple things in her. They were putting presents together in December because Eric and Cory would gift people that were not as privileged as them, that were maybe not able to receive Christmas presents. They would wrap these Christmas presents and pass them out. So that particular day, she was with Becky. Becky and her were talking because Becky had previously shared that she was divorced because her husband had been unfaithful and that she was struggling as a single mom, just had told her all of the things about her marriage. And Cory had frustrated that day because she had been invited to a gala to essentially network for her business. That same day, her husband had actually planned for them to go sledding, and she was struggling because her husband disagreed on that fact that she should go to the gala. Instead, she should spend the day with them. So Cory talked about her marriage with him. This is, again, prime example of you guys got to be real careful. Do we know if she said that or not? Absolutely not. Because all of a sudden, that is something that you remember 2 years later. In the next video, I will continue going through the witnesses. We've got the business owner from the restaurant she ordered a sandwich from on February 14th because also the state is accusing her of trying to take her husband's life initially on February 14th, but didn't work. And then we're going to continue with the additional witnesses that know Cory and that are testifying against her. Talk to you soon.